GSAT-11 घरेलू, व्यावसायिक और सरकारी संस्थानों की ब्रॉडबैंड
आप देख रहे हैं डीडी नेशनल, इंडिया का अपना चैनल।
Coming up, launch of GSAT-11 satellite. Watch live from Kourou launch base, French Guyana.
And welcome once again to Kourou, the home of the Ariane family, for today's live broadcast of Ariane Space flight number 246. We're very happy to have you all with us for the mission tonight, an international launch for some old friends in India and in South Korea. At this hour, all the teams involved here at the space base back in Europe and in Asia are gearing up for the liftoff. We're go for launch, and we are going to go in less than a quarter of an hour. We're coming to you live, as always, from the Jupiter Mission Control Building here at the heart of the space base, which is the center of the action. We're going to move outside for a first look at the launch vehicle. Ariane 5 is the reliable workhorse and the senior member of the Ariane family, designed for heavier satellites and, like tonight, for dual launches. If you're not familiar with her, she stands 54 meters tall and is in two parts. They call them composites, a lower composite and an upper one. The lower including the main stage and the two boosters, and the upper consisting of the two satellites and the vehicle equipment bay. The first of the two satellites there, the heaviest, is usually separated first. Tonight that's the case, GSAT-11 in the upper berth, and GeoComSat-2A in the lower deck, due to be separated at plus 33 minutes. As always, we're very happy to have Stefan Israel, Ariane Space's chief executive, with us. Stefan, we have just 2 minutes. Can we have two questions, please? Flight 246 is the 102nd Ariane. What makes it special?
What makes it very special is the fact that tonight we have two key agencies, two key customers of Ariane Space on board. We have ISRO, it will be the 22nd satellite we will launch for ISRO. And we have Kourou with us from the agency from Korea. It is the second satellite we launch for Kourou, and we will have another one next year.
Next year. The Ariane 5 is sending two telecom satellites up to geostationary transfer orbit. Now, can you give us some details about the mission, some facts and figures maybe?
Yes, so we have made during all the days a final operation which are now leading us to the launch. All, as you see, is green on the control scheme behind me. The weather is okay, so now at 7 minutes before the launch we will have the synchronized sequence. The liftoff will occur 7 seconds after the initiation of the Vulcan. We will head towards the east, and the mission duration will be a bit more than 30 minutes. We will separate first GSAT-11, and after we will separate GeoComSat-2A, and I'm sure it will be a wonderful launch.
It's another example of Ariane Space as serving better space for people on Earth.
Definitely, because GSAT-11 is about giving communication to India, and GeoComSat-2A is about climate monitoring and weather forecast. So it is all about bringing a better Earth, a better life on Earth.
For people. Okay, Stefan, many thanks. Stefan Israel is going to go back to work in the fishbowl just behind us here. The fishbowl, as you can see, the technicians, people from Ariane Space and the CNES, the French Space Agency, and the European Space Agency working together side by side. Also the customers are there. Countdown proceeding smoothly, just under 11 minutes to go. GSAT-11 and GeoComSat-2A on the Ariane 5. Now, according to professionals, countdown is the most intense part of the entire campaign, which lasts about 6 weeks. The satellites come in here from their prospective builders, and they go right to the satellite preparation buildings where they're tested and they're weighed and they're checked to see that after their flight, nothing is amiss. So that all that takes about 6 weeks. But this is especially true here in Jupiter for the information flow, when the professionals say that it's a very intense part of the campaign, because there's a constant flow of information coming in from all parts of the launch base to the people here in Jupiter in the fishbowl where Stefan is just going, all during the countdown. Our launch window tonight, nearly 2 hours. That's longer than usual, so that gives us plenty of time. The total mission time, just under 1 hour, and that's pretty standard for an Ariane flight. Coming up now, in just a moment, a brief presentation of the mission. We're going to give you some highlights, maybe some things to watch for. You know, Ariane will be ignited, her first stage, lower stage, and the two boosters are ignited at liftoff together. And you'll see the Ariane rise for about 9 seconds before she tilts to the east, going off on her trajectory across the Atlantic. The boosters will burn 2 minutes, and they're discarded when they've used up their fuel. The main stage continues burning, of course. Less than a minute later, the fairing goes. Our altitude now 200 kilometers. 6.5 minutes later, the main stage shuts down and is cast off in its turn. The upper stage engine then ignites. Upper passenger GSAT-11 will be released at plus 29 minutes. It's held in place by this black structure called the Silda, which we no longer need, so we can get rid of that. Finally, the second passenger GeoComSat-2A separated at plus 33 minutes, and Ariane's mission is complete. 8.5 minutes to go until the 6th Ariane 5 launch of the year. The launcher waiting for her moment in the sun. We'll see her on a moment on the pad. Back in Jupiter, we like to present some of the key players who make the mission happen. This is the Arianespace High Command, or the flight desk, heading up the team Stefan Israel you saw. With him, Roland Lagier, the chief technical officer. They'll make the call should anything unexpected come up, either before or during the countdown. You may see them on the phones with the teams here at the base or back in Europe. And the weather, you may be asking, well, more sun than rain this week. Ariane 5 can launch in the rain, that's no problem. What can give us some concern is high altitude winds, but there doesn't seem to be much problem with that. No signs of that today. There are some clouds, but hopefully we'll have some good visibility, maybe even see booster separation with the naked eye. Two other people that you're going to be seeing today as we move back into Jupiter, the mission director, an Arianespace person, working alongside the range operations manager from CNES, or the DDO as we call her tonight, Fleur Lefebvre. You'll be hearing her a lot. The DDO makes all the key announcements on major milestones during the countdown and the flight, and she will shortly call out the 7-minute mark.
À tous de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
7-minute mark coming up.
Top H0 moins 7 minutes.
This brings us into what's known as the synchronized sequence, or the automatic sequence, representing the final moments of the final countdown as power passes from the ground to the launch vehicle, making her autonomous. We're going to take a look at the green status panels on your right. They're a real-time summary of the different launch services provided by the base. Everything is green, so it's as it should be. All right, you know everything. Our stage is set. Take a look now at a film on the launch campaign to see how Ariane 5 gets ready for her mission.
We are now in the final phase of the VA-246 launch campaign, which started about a month and a half ago. GeoComSat-2A arrived at the Félix Éboué airport on Saturday the 20th of October in an Antonov aircraft. The satellite and its equipment were transported to the S5C facilities the same day. In the S5C, the satellite was unpacked and installed in the clean room, after which it was subjected to an extensive electrical checkout. Also, the propulsion system was carefully verified before the starting of the fueling preparations. A fit check was performed during this preparatory phase in order to verify the interfaces between the satellite and the launcher elements. As the satellite embarks a very sensitive payload, a nitrogen purge system has been implemented, which allows to keep the camera extremely clean up till launch. On the 10th of November, the GeoComSat satellite was transferred to the fueling hall, and the actual fueling with the bipropellants MON and MMH was performed between the 13th and the 16th of November. GSAT-11 on its turn arrived on Friday the 26th of October at the airport of Guyana, also in an Antonov aircraft. The transport of the satellite to the S5C facilities was performed immediately after. The unpacking of the spacecraft and the transfer to the clean room was performed soon after that. GSAT-11 satellite was subjected to a series of electrical tests and the propulsion system was checked out thoroughly. On the 7th of November, the GSAT-11 spacecraft was transferred to the S5B fueling hall. The fueling with MON and MMH took place between the 10th and the 14th of November.
The launcher integration activities were performed first by the unloading and the verticalization of the main cryogenic stage in the launcher integration building, followed by the arrival of the two strap-on boosters and the upper cryogenic stage with its avionic bay. After 17 days of mechanical assembly, avionic and fluidics control, the launcher was ready on November 15th to roll out to the final assembly building, also called BAF, for 12-day final preparation phase.
The combined operation started on Saturday the 17th of November with the integration of GSAT-11 on its flight adapter. After that, the satellite was transferred to the final assembly building in the CCO3 container. The upper satellite was integrated onto the cylinder structure soon after that. GeoComSat-2A on its turn was integrated to the flight adapter on Wednesday the 21st of November and was transferred to the final assembly building the day after in the CCO2 container.
The Korean satellite GeoComSat-2A and the Indian satellite GSAT-11 were mated on the launcher on November 22nd and 23rd. Yesterday, the launcher and its table were transferred from the BAF to the launch pad for a huge working day of final preparations. Today is the final chronology, the D-Day for Ariane 5 VA246. The operation that started this morning at dawn and will end up at dusk with a tremendous show. So be ready for the last Ariane 5 liftoff of the year.
Well, we are ready for the 10th launch of the year and the 6th Ariane 5 of 2018 and the last launch of the year but one. Some 1,700 people working around the space base in all. Our cameras here in Jupiter, but many others are hard at work at other sites across the range. Another site that's busy is the launch zone, where the launch management teams are working under the direction of the Launch Complex Operations Manager, today Frederick Fakin. You saw him in the clip, and there he is again. Most of their work was done earlier in the day, and of course by the time we get to the automatic sequence, which is now the 7-minute mark, they, like most of us, are waiting, basically. The work done up there carried out by two teams, one responsible for executing flight chronology, the other for verification of the flight worthiness of the Ariane 5, and that second group led by this fellow, David Iranzo, the Launch Complex Operation Manager, heading up the first group responsible for execution of the chronology. The Operations Manager coordinates with Mission Control for final authorization to launch. When all the conditions are right, he okays the automatic sequence at 7 minutes, which we saw. At 2 minutes to go, we mentioned earlier that countdown was a complicated process and a long one. Final countdown actually began at 6 this morning. This split-screen image shows the propellant feeder arms in the middle of the launcher, liquid hydrogen on the left, liquid oxygen on the right. They are putting propellant into the upper stage tanks, and you'll see the arms pull back at 7 seconds before ignition. It's one of the last things you'll see before liftoff. We'd like to take just a minute to point it out. You see there in the middle of the screen, the yellow bars going from the gantry into the upper stage. Coming up on the last minute, and the drone's eye view, the drone's hovering over Jupiter here, looking down on one of the terraces. There are two terraces on either sides of the building here where the VIPs go to watch the liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute.
The DDO is going to call out the 1 minute mark.
Top H0 moins 1 minute.
And we are into the final 60 seconds. Give us a chance to say hi to our friends at ISRO and Bengaluru, to our friends at GeoComSat and Kari in South Korea and at Daejeon, locally to the Kourou, Sinnamary and Cayenne sites, to our industrial partners, ESA and CNES, and to all of you following the broadcast on the internet. We hope you are enjoying it. Settle in, and we will cut away and let you listen to the DDO. She'll call out the final seconds, and remember to watch for the cryogenic arms to open.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage des 2 EAP et décollage Ariane 246 avec GSAT-11 et GeoComSat 2A. La propulsion est nominale.
If I may say, than anybody predicted, as the DDO says everything is okay on board. You saw Ariane rise right on time.
Et la trajectoire est nominale.
Lifting off from the ground here in French Guyana with a lot of fire, you can see that, with her 2 new satellites. Always an impressive sight as Ariane roars off the ground on her mission. The 2 boosters providing 90% of our thrust right now, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at an ever higher velocity. Our mass at liftoff, 776 tons. Now, to get that sort of mass off the ground, you need a lot of push, you can imagine. And push we have. Ariane 5 burning 5 tons of fuel per second. That's 2.5 tons per second in each booster. Plus the core stage, the middle stage, burning another 300 kilos per second. The DDO says propulsion is normal on board, so we're doing fine. Very fine shots as Ariane 5 starts to head east toward the Atlantic, across the Atlantic. Ariane 5 now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including stage separations, which we will soon begin to see. We are in the first of 4 flight phases. We'll describe each in turn and in detail so you can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic. The first 3 stages are powered and the 4th is not. Right now, as you can see on the animation, the first flight phase, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. The boosters will each consume their 240 tons of fuel in just over 2 minutes, in about 5 seconds. And they're the first to be extinguished, and you'll hear that from the DDO, and you'll see that, and...
Séparation des 2 EAP, la trajectoire est nominale.
The white point of light in the middle is the lower stage continuing to burn, and the 2 orange lights on either side are the 2 boosters flaming out. That's what it looks like up there. There's another booster on the port side of the vehicle falling into the ocean. This first flight phase using 2 different types of propellant.
La propulsion de l'étage principal cryotechnique est nominale.
Coming up next will be the separation of the fairing. On the bottom of your screen on the right, our altitude 100 kilometers. On the left, sorry, altitude 100 kilometers. On the right, 225 kilometers per second. As we wait for fairing separation, the DDO will call that out. And there you are, coming right on time.
Et séparation coiffe.
Separation is given by 2 pyrotechnic systems, blowing these 2 halves away in a very controlled explosion. No danger to the vehicle threatened, of course. There's another half on the starboard side of the vehicle falling away. We can separate the fairing now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere. Over 100 kilometers up, there's neither friction nor heating, which could disturb the passengers. We can also get rid of any dead weight. The fairing weighs 2.5 tons, so it's a good time to get rid of it. Ariane 5 is the heavy lift launcher. The 2 other members of the family, Soyuz, lifting middle-sized payloads, 2 and 3 tons, and Vega, the light lift vehicle for missions of 1 ton, roughly. With its family of launch vehicles, Ariane Space is the industry reference, providing launches of any mass to any orbit at any time. Ariane Space is part of Europe's space effort, which is a 3-way affair among Ariane Space, the European Space Agency, and the CNES, the French Space Agency. You find them all here, along with the customers. Ariane Space is in charge of operating the family of launchers and of marketing the launch services and the Ariane program, ESA funding new programs, and CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operations. And at the base, since October, we've been launching twice a month, every other Tuesday, in fact, in that rhythm, to take us until the end of the year. A launch base, of course, is a place where the launcher and the payloads are prepared, launched, and monitored before and all during the mission. And the CSG, the world's only dedicated commercial Space Base. Arianespace operating the launcher family. The 4 place names Galileo, Natal, Ascension, and Libreville on your screen. Those are the first names of our downrange tracking stations, and you'll be hearing from them very shortly. Up next, our first of many films coming up on the community of Ariane cities, highlighting towns that are part of the Ariane program.
Ce soir, nous sommes réunis pour le 5e lancement de l'année Ariane 5 et avec un lanceur emblématique à travers justement le logo qui figure sur le lanceur, qui est le logo de la ville des Mureaux au titre de la présidence de la communauté des villes Ariane 2018. L'établissement des Mureaux et la ville, c'est une histoire qui date de plus de 100 ans. C'était aussi cette année une opportunité pour toucher un public beaucoup plus large, faire connaître nos activités spatiales et vulgariser l'application de nos activités au quotidien.
Pour ce lancement d'Ariane 5, pour la ville des Mureaux, c'est un grand jour, car nous serons présents sur la coiffe. C'est vrai que les Mureaux est une ville de l'air et de l'espace. Depuis Diamant jusqu'à Ariane 5 aujourd'hui, demain Ariane 6, il est évident que notre ville, son histoire, a été vraiment inscrite avec le spatial. Bien pour nous, c'est un grand jour. Et je tiens à remercier l'ensemble des industriels, l'ensemble des partenaires sur Ariane 5, que ce soit le CNES, l'ESA, Ariane Group, Ariane Space. Et puis c'est vrai que depuis cette année, nous nous disons que nous sommes avant tout des murionautes. Et je crois qu'en voyant tous ceux et toutes celles qui sont venus, les astronautes, tous les grands de ce monde spatial, les Mureaux est une ville de l'espace. Et bon vent à ce nouvel Ariane 5. Et surtout, j'espère beaucoup qu'Ariane 6 va être un très grand du spatial dans les années 2020-2030. Vive Ariane, vive toutes les villes d'Ariane, et surtout, vive les Mureaux et tous les murionautes.
Les Mureaux, not too far from Paris, one of the many cities with a role to play in the Ariane program. We are in the second powered flight phase. The single engine core stage is burning now. Another minute to go before it shuts down. During the film, we were picked up by our first downrange tracking station, Natal, in the middle of your screen, over the border in Brazil, run by the Brazilian Defense Department. For the CNES in agreement with ESA. It'll see the lower stage burnout and the separation. In about a minute, we'll have cutoff, of the lower stage. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher is sending radar and telemetry back, and the network of ground stations, you saw the names there, keeps constant watch on the health of all of her systems.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
She's sending back radar and telemetry, and the ground station's picking up the signal. Telemetry is launch vehicle data. Information on over 1,000 parameters is collected, transmitted back to the ground stations every second during the flight. And they recalled all the launcher's functions and her vital signs throughout the launch. Customers get immediate data on their spacecraft. This is important. Some data are analyzed in real time, and when they're not, they're studied after the flight to learn how the vehicle performed on its mission. And you see the cutoff of the lower stage and its separation and ignition of the upper stage. Right on time. We've had confirmation of these events.
Allumage de l'étage supérieur
You
cryotechnique.
see the lower stage falling away. It will drop into the Atlantic off the Gulf of Guinea. These 3 commands given by the onboard computer in about 13 seconds. So that brings us into the third and final powered flight phase, the single upper stage engine that'll burn until plus 25 minutes, or about 16 minutes roughly. And the job of the upper stage is to take the satellites to their injection point, position them for separation, and release them. Turning to our passengers, a film coming up now with a first look at GSAT-11.
Ariane VA246 will deliver to orbit GSAT-11, Israel's largest and heaviest communication satellite ever. Its lift-off mass is 5,854 kilograms, and it will provide high bandwidth capacity over India, hence reducing the digital divide, in particular in rural and remote areas. Arianespace is very proud to have been selected for the first launch of this brand new I-6K platform, developed by ISRO in its URSC facilities in Bangalore. So all the best to GSAT-11 and the ISRO teams involved in the launch and early operation from the Hassan Master Control Facility.
With this launch area in space continuing to unite Europe and India with the mission, the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, is so important to the nation and has done so much using space technology for national development, pursuing space science, research, and planetary exploration. ISRO focusing on all types of space applications, navigation, Earth observation, and telecoms. Another look now for more on GSAT-11.
The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, has played a significant role in establishing a strong communication infrastructure within the country. Today, it is estimated that internet users in India have nearly reached 450 million. Considering India's highly diverse geophysical and climatic features, the provision of broadband connectivity to every part of this vast country through satellites has become a necessity. In today's world, satellite-based broadband connectivity that combines voice, data, and video streaming holds immense potential and will be a game changer.
GSAT-11 spacecraft is an advanced communication satellite providing high-throughput payloads in Ku bands. It is the largest and heaviest satellite ever built by ISRO. This satellite will meet most of the requirements of providing broadband connectivity to rural and inaccessible Gram Panchayats under BharatNet project, which is part of the Digital India program initiative of Government of India.
With India moving fast to implement the concept of smart villages and cities, they can be efficiently linked through a large communication satellite.
GSAT-11, weighing about 5,854 kg, is a multi-spot beam satellite providing coverage of Indian mainland and nearby islands. GSAT-11 is the heaviest satellite built by ISRO with the largest solar panels and payload panels. This satellite is also configured with maximum communication antenna, 5 numbers, in INSAT GSAT family of satellites.
It has mission life of about 15 years. It will enable broadband, telecommunication, and multimedia solutions to households, businesses, and public organizations. The satellite will also enable next-generation applications such as in-flight connectivity. It is India's first large high-throughput satellite and is configured on ISRO's newly developed I-6K bus. GSAT-11 satellite bus is very versatile with separate modules like mainframe system, payload systems, and propulsion systems, providing high level of flexibility and ease in assembly and checkout operations. It is capable of supporting a lift-off mass of up to 6 tons. The I-6K bus also has a capacity to generate and handle up to 20 kilowatt of power.
The payload has around 600 subsystems. Nearly 90% of the hardware has been realized in India with extensive participation of the industry. Most of the hardware is miniaturized using advanced MMIC technologies. For the first time, multi-port amplifier is used for power sharing across the beams under varying service demands.
GSAT-11 will be located at 74 degrees east with a multi-spot beam antenna coverage. It will generate 32 user spot beams in Ku band, 16 each in both vertical and horizontal polarizations, covering Indian mainland as well as islands. This will also generate 8 hub beams, 4 in each polarization, operating in Ka band frequencies. The 4 ground gateways or hubs located in different regions will connect the satellite to the users. All the hub stations, in turn, are connected to each other via optical fiber network, thus creating seamless connectivity.
The satellite will provide a throughput of 16 gigabits per second through 32 narrow user beams for supporting high data rate services across the country. As the high throughput technology and use of Ka band is being introduced in the country for the first time through indigenous satellites, the associated ground hardware are being established by ISRO. The satellite has completed the launch campaign activities and is ready for launch on board Ariane 5 launch vehicle.
GSAT-11 is all set to begin its journey to space in the European Ariane 5 launch vehicle from Kourou, French Guyana, after reaching the preliminary geosynchronous transfer orbit on board Ariane 5. The satellite will be taken to its final geostationary orbital location by firing its propulsion system in steps. Once this big bird reaches the final orbit, satellite-based broadband services will become a reality in India and will significantly contribute towards bridging the digital divide between the urban and rural India.
While you were watching the film, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station, Ascension Island, tiny island in the South Atlantic, 10 square kilometers. NASA had a station there till 1989. When they closed it, ESA decided to build its own.
Le pilotage est calme et la trajectoire nominale.
8 minutes left in the upper stage burn as the DDO continues to say all is nominal on board. Our second passenger, GeoComSat-2A, will be the 68th Earth observation satellite launched by Arianespace. A first look at our second passenger now.
Arianespace is proud for having been selected by CARI to launch both spacecraft of the GK2 program, composed of GK2A and GK2B satellites, an important national program of the Korean government. GK2A is the first geostationary satellite developed under the entire CARI responsibility to be launched following COMS program, which has been launched in 2010.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Libreville au Gabon.
Monitoring missions with on board 2 important payloads. AMI, the Advanced Meteorological Imager, and KSEM, the Korean Space Environment Monitor.
Arianespace is a major partner in the Korean government space program. Arianespace first launched KitSat-1A back in 1992. That was flight 52 on an Ariane 4, the Topex Poseidon flight, if you recall. It weighed a mere 46 kilos. In 2015, CARI chose Arianespace for launch of GeoComSat-2A and 2B. ComSat, if you're wondering, Korea Multiple Purpose Satellite. And it will enable a nation to take advantage of geographical information systems. The second film on our second passenger now, this time on the prime contractor CARI. We have just been picked up, our signal has just been picked up by our downrange tracking station, the next one, in Malindi, on the east coast of Africa in Kenya. Meanwhile, 2 minutes to go in the upper stage burn, got us to plus 2505. KARI, Korea Aerospace Research Organization, founded in 1989. ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, founded in 1969, so both groups celebrating a birthday next year. Up next, a look at the relationship between GeoComSat and Arianespace.
The GK2A satellite, originally developed by KARI South Korea, will be stationed at the 128.2-degree east orbital location for a 10 years mission ride.
I would like to thank all the teams that have been involved in this program. First, of course, our customer, KARI, which always relied on Arianespace with a dedicated, very efficient teamwork all along the program. Constructive approaches and optimization have always been shared between the project teams. This was really a key driver to conduct
Il reste une minute de propulsion de l'ESA.
The solar array of GK2A will be fully deployed the next 1 hour after it separates from the launch vehicle. After that, the GK2A satellite will move to the 128.2 east degree through the transfer orbit.
As we approach extinction of the upper stage in about half a minute, some numbers. This launch is the 304th mission performed by the Ariane family of launchers. GSAT-11 and GeoComSat-2A are the 589th and 90th satellites launched by Arianespace, and the 209th and 210th to be launched on an Ariane 5. Total weight for the two passengers, 10 tons. GSAT-11 has a 15-year lifetime, and GeoComSat, 10 years. Ariane 5 has hit her maximum speed. You can see on the bottom right, 9.3 kilometers as the upper stage engine shuts down. Now, with the power shut down, you'll see our speed start to drop as we move into this new coasting phase, also called the Ballistics Phase. It's the last flight phase and the only one that is not powered. We mentioned that Ariane had reached her maximum speed, which was 9.3 kilometers. You're starting to see her slow down. We're already down to 9.26 kilometers per second. In 8 minutes, when she separates GSAT-11 at plus 2907, her speed will be 8.7 kilometers per second. When she releases the Silda, that's the carrying structure for the second passenger, her speed will be 8.3 kilometers per second. That comes at 31 minutes and 48 seconds. And finally, when she separates GeoComSat at plus 3339, her speed will be down to 8.1 kilometers per second. Our customers tonight, old friends and partners of Arianespace. The relationships go back both a long way, nearly 30 years between Arianespace and the Koreans. Our next film explores the relationship between GSAT-11 and Arianespace.
GSAT-11 will bring in a revolution in space-based communication in India. Developed on frequency reuse principle, it will generate huge bandwidth in space, thus enabling Digital India program, Gram Panchayat connectivity, and also satellite-based broadband services to far-flung areas of the country.
GSAT-11 is the 22nd ISRO satellite launched by Arianespace. Our cooperation with the Indian Space and Research Organization goes back to 1981, when Ariane Flight L03 launched the Apollo satellite.
The launch campaign at Kourou has gone exceedingly well, thanks to the professional support of Arianespace and CNES teams. Post-launch, Team ISRO at Master Control Facility Hassan will perform orbit-raising maneuvers, solar array and antenna deployments, and in-orbit tests before GSAT-11 is declared operational.
It is always with great pleasure that we welcome at CSG our Indian friends, with whom very friendly relationship links have been weaved over the years.
A mere minute and a half to go until separation of our first passenger, GSAT-11. GSAT-11, the 22nd ISRO satellite to be launched by Arianespace. It's also ISRO's heaviest to date. That's one of the reasons it is the first ISRO satellite to be installed as Ariane 5's upper passenger. Two additional satellites from ISRO are in Arianespace's order book, GSAT-30 and 31. They will be the 23rd and 24th ISRO satellites launched by Arianespace, and both, I believe, are set for next year. 1 minute to go until separation. GSAT-11 arrived here in French Guyana on October 26th, began its tests in the satellite preparation buildings here at the CSG. Process takes about a month, I think we mentioned that. GeoComSat-2A arrived in French Guyana on October 20th and went right to the satellite preparation buildings here for its checks. Coming up on confirmation from the DDO on separation of our upper passenger due in just about 20 seconds. You see GSAT-11 on the left of your screen. The gold and white square. Underneath that, the black bell-shaped structure is the carrying structure for our second passenger. Always a moment of high concentration. The teams have gone through these procedures before, but it does call for tremendous focus. You don't want to say tense, but focused gives you an idea.
Séparation GSAT-11.
And there, the DDO has confirmed separation of our first passenger, and smiles from the ISRO people. You notice that people in the hall very politely
Et début de la manœuvre d'orientation au profit du système de lancement double Ariane-Silda.
Because the show is not over, we still have to separate our final passenger, GeoComSat-2A. And we are still in the ballistic phase, the final phase of the mission, in 4 minutes from separation of our second passenger. As you see GSAT-11 beginning her life, pushed away from the mothership, what remains of the composite. We have to separate the two satellites and the Silda in 3 different directions, also 3 different altitudes. GSAT-11 was separated at roughly 1,300 kilometers up, and the Silda will be separated at about 1,900 kilometers up, and GeoComSat at 2,300 kilometers up, all in different directions to risk collision. When choosing a space base, the Europeans wanted nearby hills where they could install radar and telemetry, and this is the CVI, the Quick Look Telemetry Display Control Center, and it's on a hill just behind us here in Jupiter. Now, these teams have all the means for receiving and processing and storing and analyzing all the data coming in from the ground stations along Ariane's flight path. We've been talking about them. Now, right now, these teams are following all the key flight data coming in and reporting the flight status of the launcher back to the teams here in Jupiter. The announcements you hear by the DDO come from this building, the CVI. The information from the launcher goes to them, and they relay it to Jupiter. They also relay it to the flight desk we saw earlier, and the Launch Complex Operations Manager. All part of GeoComSat-2A, the 7th South Korean satellite. The GeoComSat-2 program comprises a pair, 2A and 2B, a national government program to develop and operate 2 geostationary civilian satellites. We're waiting for confirmation of the Silda separation. And there's the scheduled separation.
Et séparation du Silda, système de lancement double Ariane.
And the DDO has confirmed it. And you can see revealed to the elements is our second passenger, due for separation in a minute. GeoComSat-2A is designed to conduct weather monitoring missions, whereas GeoComSat-2B
Début de la manœuvre d'orientation au
will
profit de
carry out Earth
GeoComSat-2A.
environment monitoring and ocean monitoring missions. GeoComSat-2A's data will also be used to compose maps for Korean and overseas territories and provide surveillance of large-scale natural disasters. Both satellites built at Kari's facility in Daejeon in South Korea. Little over a minute to go until separation. GeoComSat-2A will be the second Kari satellite to be launched by Arianespace following successful launch of the COMS satellite in 2010. Arianespace backlog currently counting 2 more satellites to launch for Kari, GeoComSat-2B on an Ariane 5 next year, and ComSat-7 on the Vega, the new Vega C, due in 2021. It was in September that Arianespace announced that it had been tapped by Kari to launch ComSat-7, and that's due for launch, as we mentioned, on the new updated Vega. GeoComSat-7, another Earth observation satellite, will be the 4th KARI satellite and the 9th Korean satellite orbited by Arianespace, and the signing makes it Vega C's 5th customer, the new updated version of Vega. Waiting for confirmation by the DDO on separation of our lower passenger. Again, the same waiting, the same suspense, only this time
Et séparation GeoComSat 2A.
for the GeoComSat people. And the final good news, and you heard the applause from the people in Jupiter. Ariane 5 once again delivering her second passenger, GeoComSat 2A, off the coast of Africa, like GSAT-11, a little farther out over the water. So from the rather focused moments ago, you can see the change here in Jupiter, very buoyant all across the Space Center, and at all the points and posts where people are following the launcher and the satellite. Work is just beginning, or soon will be, at the other sites around the world where the satellite's first maneuvers are being monitored. We are waiting for the traditional post-separation speeches. You'll be hearing from Stefan Israel from Arianespace, Dr. Sivan of ISRO, and Dr. Jin-Woo Kim of KARI. Some of these people are seated on the VIP side of Jupiter, but Stefan Israel has been working on the inside and will shortly be making his way out to join us on this side of the glass. While we're waiting, hopefully we will have, yes, we'll have a launch replay, maybe the first of several launch replays, and you can relive those exciting moments over half an hour ago when Ariane first took off. We have several observation posts here at the base, and we get footage from a lot of them, so maybe we'll get some other replay shots. This looks like it's from Toucan, which is the closest. No, it's not Toucan. That's, I think, the camera from the Carnot, closest to the pad. Stefan Israel making his way to the podium. His will be the next voice you hear.
So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that GSAT-11 and GeoComSat 2A have been separated as planned on the targeted geostationary transfer orbits. For the last Ariane 5 launch of the year, our heavyweight vehicle has once more performed flawlessly. I really want to congratulate all of you. While international agencies are part of Arianespace DNA, tonight, I want to express my deepest gratitude to two very special partners since the beginning of their space ambitions, ISRO and KARI. 37 years, 20 successful launches, and more than 5 tons separate the satellite EPOL, launched by Ariane 1, and GSAT-11, launched by Ariane 5 tonight. So tonight is our 22nd success for ISRO. Despite so many years of partnership, we still manage to keep the relationship fresh with new firsts. With GSAT-11 being the heaviest satellite built by ISRO, it is the first in a series to hold the position of upper passenger aboard Ariane 5. For this delivery of this advanced satellite, let me congratulate ISRO and its chairman, Dr. Sivan, who honors us with his presence at CSG tonight. I would like also to thank Dr. Kunnikrishnan, director of the Indian Satellite Center, who is also with us tonight. I would like to congratulate all of you in ISRO for the recent successful flight of GSLV and PSLV. Let me also thank ISRO for its trust reasserted last September with GSAT-30 and GSAT-31 entrusted to Ariane 5 for 2 launches next year. In fact, the chairman of ISRO is a very strong negotiator, so when he asks a launch, he gives the launch in September, and we must deliver 3 to 4 weeks after, so we have told that we would need a little more time, but we are really honored of your trust and the fact that one more time you have decided to go with us in full complementarity of Indian rockets. With first come also last. And I would like to thank Christophe Bardou, Arianespace project manager. You have seen him on the screen, very well known by your Indian friends, and who conducted today the last mission of his 38-year career in Arianespace. It means that Christophe joined Arianespace in 1980 at the very beginning of the journey. Now I wish to deeply thank our second customer for tonight, the Korean Space Agency. Tonight, after COMS-1 in 2010, was the second time CARI has entrusted Arianespace with a satellite to deliver. GeoComSat-2A will enable enhanced weather forecasting in South Korea. In this regard, I want to congratulate CARI for this state-of-the-art satellite, and notably CARI Vice President Sang-ryol Lee, who is with us tonight in Jupiter. Congratulations as well for your progress on KSLV-2, marked by a recent rocket engine suborbital flight test passed with success a few days ago. Let me also thank CARI for their strong relationship with us, epitomized by two of their satellites in our backlog, GeoComSat-2B, which will be launched in 1 year from here with Ariane 5, as well as COMSAT-7, which will fly aboard Vega C by 2021. Tonight was the 7th time the South Korean flag has appeared on the fairing of an Arianespace launch vehicle, weather forecast. It was in 1992 and 1993. It was the very beginning of the satellites launch for Korea with KitSat-1A and KitSat-2. And after the 3 satellites we have launched for KTSat with a strong partner of Arianespace. I would like also to mention the fact that we have used twice the Jeju Island radar for launches, and also that we have had for a long series of launches some components from Korea, which is not totally usual for Ariane, which is very European, as you know. With this 10th launch of 2018 for connectivity and weather, Arianespace is fulfilling its motto, space for a better life on Earth. Let me congratulate all our partners who played their part with this new success. ESA for sure, and all the member states of the Ariane program whose support is essential. Ariane Group, Ariane 5 Prime and first shareholder of Arianespace. Ariane Group, as you know, is located in Les Mureaux. I would like to thank François Garret, Mayor of Les Mureaux and President of the Ariane Cities Community, partnering with Arianespace for this launch. Thank you, François, for being with us. I would also like to thank CNES, Ariane 5 Design Authority, and our daily partner here in CSG, our contractors in French Guyana, and all the employees at the launch facility. Of course, I would like to pay my tribute to my Arianespace colleagues for another success in this very busy period with a launch every 2 weeks. What an impressive tempo. I would now like to welcome to the stage our customers and partners. Thank you very much.
My dear friends, good evening to all of you. Just 6 days after an excellent mission India has, that is PSLV launched that hyperspectral imaging satellite from India. Today, India has achieved a major milestone as its 100th satellite built by ISRO, which happens to be the heaviest, largest, and most powerful satellite ever built by India, is successfully launched by Ariane 5 today. The satellite GSAT-11 is having the 38 spot beams as well as 8 hub beams, which covers the entire country, including the remote places. This satellite is going to be the richest space asset for India, and is going to provide something like 16 Gbps data link services to the country. And I would say that this particular satellite is going to be the third in series of that 4th satellite planned for having India's ambitious 100 Gbps data rate program under the Digital India program of the Government of India. And this particular satellite really is an innovative way that designed by ISRO, that is the ISRO centers on the satellites. Very innovative satellite. Also, it is going to be, it is like almost double the size of the present the satellite. The credit must goes to the entire team ISRO for making such a wonderful satellite as a gift to Indian, the services for Indian community in the communications area. In next 5 days, the satellite is going to have the different the maneuvers to raise their orbit. And already the master control facility of India has acquired the satellite. And the subsequent to that, the 5 days operations for raising the orbit, as well as the deployments of the solar panel as well as antenna. The next 10 days is going to be the payload testing and IoT. Then after that, the spacecraft will be in service for the users. For this wonderful success and achievement, let me once again thank and compliment my team ISRO for making the satellite and also making that all the efforts to put that in the orbit. In this juncture, I wanted to thank specifically that Arianespace. When we missed that launch target of May 25th, and with all our efforts, with the help of Arianespace, we could achieve this launch this year itself. I must specifically thank that Arianespace for this great gesture given to us. Also, that I would like to compliment and congratulate our co-passenger, the ComSat, for the wonderful mission as well as for the future mission operations. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Jinwoo Kim, Director of Science Technology Policy Division of Ministry of Science and ICT in the Republic of Korea. Firstly, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Arianespace and CNES and ESA, and congratulations on the 102nd successful launch of your Ariane 5 rocket. Our satellite GeoComSat-2A has been developed for more than 7 years by many researchers of mainly Korea and industrial companies and universities. It was sponsored by government to provide better weather service to Korean people. The launch today marked the successful end of GeoComSat-2A development and also the hopeful start of better Korean weather service. Last week, Korean test launch vehicle succeeded in flying up to more than 200 kilometers in altitude. And yesterday, our Korean small satellite, GSAT-11, of about 100 kilograms in mass, was launched successfully. And today, we succeeded in launching our GeoComSat-2A satellite. And I think Korean people would be very pleased and confident that our country is approaching gradually global level in space development. And I expect these successes would boost up our motivations, investments, and research and developments in space. Lastly, thank you all for presenting good memories and the successful launch service to us. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we will come back to the CSG by the end of the year for the last launch of the year. It will be our 11th launch, and this will be for CNES and DGA, DGA aboard a Soyuz for the satellite, Earth observation satellite CSO-1. So thank you again, and now enjoy the evening. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Pretty exciting, don't you think? A perfect launch. We're very happy that you could share some of the excitement with us. We're happy also to show you this place. This is our Arianespace broadcast studio. You've never been down here. We are just one floor below the main Jupiter room where we were earlier. And you can see around me our top-notch team of TV professionals who are hard at work bringing you the final sound and images of the mission tonight. We're going to try not to disturb them too much, but it's thanks to them that you saw Ariane 5 deliver successfully her two passengers, GSAT-11 and GeoComSat-2A. Those two new birds winging their way to their final orbital slots, where in just a few short weeks they will be providing services to homes and businesses across Asia. Now, if you can follow me, we're not going far, just a few steps down the road this way. We're going to go visit our director. Right here, this fellow. His name is Francois. Good evening, Francois. He's too busy to talk, but he can hear me, believe it. Francois, we want to say goodbye. The show's over, so can you please roll the final launch campaign shots? Away we go. We look forward to seeing with you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
आप देख रहे हैं डीडी नेशनल, इंडिया का